Welcome to the Battleground of the Gods.
Welcome, challengers, to Battleground of the Gods, a Smite podcast. I am your host, Step Nation, and joining me today, we have Nevea03.
Hey, everybody. How's it going?
And a very special guest, Frog.
Hello. Happy to be here.
I know. And you are not the usual Frog that we have on the podcast. You just have one G, correct?
I do just have one G, and we'll see what the commenters say. I mean, there's sort of a movement out there. I don't know if you guys have heard. But we'll see. But I am only one G. In fact, for the longest time, I've known Fro. He was an Olympian. He still is.
Yep.
But I've seen him on Twitter. I've interacted with him. I've never actually logically put the words together. He's just Fro double G in my mind, and it was only when he messaged me for this podcast and he was like, "There's gonna be two frogs," and I was like, "What?" And then I realized that if you make the words have meaning, it's oh, you put two G's at the end. And it's funny because that's also the only Twitter handle I could get. I've got two G's on Twitter and on Twitch and everything, but no, the official name only comes with one G.
Okay. Well, Frog. For our listeners who might not know, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Sure. Well, first and foremost, I'm a Smite player. I've been playing Smite since 2014, I want to say. Around Medusa release is what I always go back to. I started on console. I eventually moved over to PC. I sort of got into the esports scene early on. Initially, I was coaching and playing around that level, and then somebody told me that I had a really solid voice, and so I thought I would give a shot at casting. And I started as a chair 2, as an analyst more so. And naturally, over time, I got more and more experience in that. Now, at this point, I've been casting the game for probably 4 or 5 years, maybe closer to hitting that 5-year mark. And somewhere along the road, I transition into more of a hype caster, more of a chair 1 role. But it's taken me a lot farther along the path than I think I thought it would. I did it for probably at this point 80% of my time has been just completely I do it for fun, right? And that's why I started casting. It's probably why I still cast. But at some point along the way, Hi-Rez was like, "Yo, you want to come do this for more people?" And now I cast on Smite Game for the SEC. They just recently brought me out for the Masters event. I got to hang out with the pro players and the professional casters as well. The vibe was fantastic. So I think it's brought me a lot farther than I thought it would on the whole casting journey, but it's been a ton of fun, and I do not intend to stop anytime soon.
Awesome.
Oh, heck yeah, man. That's awesome. Now, Nev, you've done some desk work, haven't you?
Oh, yes. I did a little bit of desk work for Albion Giants, and I had some big shoes to fill with SSB always having some puns, and I felt like I had to also channel my punnerific attitude. But it's going in as an analyst and then moving up. That's really cool. That's the dream. That's the goal.
Yeah, I think it wasn't something that I expected when I started. That's for sure. The whole reason I went in as an analyst is because it feels a lot easier. It still feels a lot easier for me to be an analyst because you don't necessarily have to drive anything. You can just know the game somewhat well, and then you sit there and you answer your questions. And the chair 1 still sort of drives the bus in terms of how the game moves, but the more experience you get, you feel more comfortable in that role. SSB is a great example because you're right, they do kind of drive it and bring all this energy, and it can feel hard to keep up with sometimes. But it's also it's a great viewer experience.
Yes.
and so it's a trade-off versus like the type of show that you want to bring. But no, I mean it's a ton of fun. Yeah.
Well, all right. One of the things we do during the podcast here is we, being Smite game players, playing the game of Smite, share
What?
our experiences on the Battleground.
We play Smite?
We play Smite. Believe it or not, we
Oh,
we are
goodness.
Smite game players. Nevea 03 being
I
the
yeah.
most Smite game player that I know,
Oh, the
having
most.
actually played on Smite game. How have your games of the week been?
Oh, we've won some, we've lost some. I'm looking here at my history. It doesn't obviously count for today when I was doing cooldowns runneth over right before stream. So I'm just looking at my past week here. A lot of arenas and assaults, but you know what? You know what I played in arena more than anybody else this week? I think you will be shocked.
What's
You
that?
will be shocked because I am normally a mage and a hunter main. And I'm seeing a lot of warriors on my history for this past week. And not just any warrior. No. Achilles. Achilles. I've been slamming some Achilles in arenas. 10-0 and 12 a few days ago. 5-3 and 9. We got 9-1 and 15. 7-0 and 12. I mean, I've been really enjoying playing some Achilles. I've been really enjoying it.
Achilles is a very sound warrior.
He feels real good right now. And I don't know if it's itemization or if it's the quote tank meta or a combination of the both, but I've been really having a lot of fun with Achilles. Plus, it didn't hurt that they extended his execution range just a little bit. Couple of extra units for you to get over to your target, which has been helpful. But you know me, I still creatively zone the heck out of that ult, and I still miss sometimes, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I think weirdly enough, like I've been in a very similar boat. I'll let you know, I'm really only a conquest player, and I'm really only a ranked conquest player.
Oh my goodness.
Ooh.
I know it's a lot. But Achilles, I agree. I think since the patch, especially, I think a combination of the tank meta, of the extra 5% health on the execute has gone a long way. I feel like, and especially I found him really oppressive in like double execute compositions where you get like an Ao Kuang and an Achilles. And then you're trying to hold on to that. I've actually had a ton of success with Achilles jungle, more so than Achilles solo, because you get so much free tankiness.
Yes.
And you can throw on an Eye of the Jungle and like end the game with 4 or 5 damaging items and still have as many protections as you would like a patch ago. If you switch into that defensive stance, and just the amount of space you can make, the amount of the impact that you can have. In fact, I think I started playing Achilles back in the jungle this patch. I'm currently on my way to a 10-0 border in rank. Right now I am 7-0. And so I'm like picking my spots where I play him because
You can't keep getting away with it.
I'm trying to hold on to it. But no, he is definitely fun to play. He auto cancels really well as well. Very smooth.
Heck yeah. But other than a bunch of Achilles, I haven't really played anything too much more interesting. I did get a penta today, but it was in cooldown, so does it even count? I don't know. Actually, I got 2. I got 2 pentas today. I forgot.
Nice.
I forgot one
fun.
of them.
It's still fun when it happens.
It is. Cooldowns runneth over is one of my favorite modes of the day. Pretty much exclusively the only mode of the day that I play throughout the week. On Sundays, it's arena. You get max gold, max cooldowns, max level, random god. And so it did start me with 3 assassins in a row, which assassins are my least played class. And it wasn't even assassins that I'm necessarily good with or feel comfortable on, because like the first one I got was a Kleena, which is not super fun in arena anyway, because you can't really do all the fun, fancy stuff because nobody's gonna be next to the walls. And yes, you can hide in the pillars, but who wants to hide in a stinky pillar? So, that was my first game, and we lost by like a lot. And then after that, I got Bastet, but I do like Bastet, and I was like ulting people through walls and pulling them out of their fountain and prohibiting them from healing. And I think I got like a quad on Bastet.
Nice.
Bastet's fun. I like her. And then Nemesis was my third assassin in a row. Another character I don't play very often, but I did okay.
Nem's tough.
Well,
Yeah.
it helped because their random picks, they got like they had 3 tanks, I think. So I was just like using my ultimate. Yeah, I was using my ultimate on them as much as I could.
Yeah, Nem's really hard to, especially in a game like cooldowns runneth over, or even like general arena where it's all team fight all the time,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to get in there next to somebody and try and stack Nem passive, like get your autos off before you start comboing.
Imagine hitting autos, by the way. Crazy.
Crazy. Yeah.
Couldn't be me.
Couldn't be enough. Oh man.
But that's about it. What about Frog? Frog, have you played some? You've said you've played some ranked, and you've brought Achilles into the jungle. Is there any other fancy ranked conquest tips that you care to share with us?
Oh man, I don't know about tips. My history is looking pretty red. I play far too much of this game. I got called out on the other day because I was sharing my screen, and somebody saw on Steam that I have 78 hours in the last 2 weeks, and it's like I've been playing Smite like it's an entire second full-time job. And that is that's worth something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it's worth, but it's worth something. But I think a lot of it is just my want to like. That's a lot of my drive and enjoyment that I get out of the game is just like being better. There's a small part of me that's like a bit completionist. Like when we have 3 times everything, this like July 4th holiday, I think I'll probably be playing casuals to try and like get the gods that I don't have diamond up to diamond. But past that, it's very much when I do play ranked, it's almost always I'm a jungle main, and I try to stick to only the toxic characters. Like I only play Susano and Thor. No, I'm just kidding. That'd be
wow.
that'd be brutal.
Sir Cat with that free 30% crit now.
Yeah. No, I mean it's been going pretty well. I've been climbing up on my main account. I actually started off this season almost always solo queuing on a different account because I have ranked anxiety that people like see my name and I'll see their name and they'll be like, oh my god, and then if I do bad in the game they'll be like, oh, this guy Frog, he's like really bad at the game. And so I played under an account that nobody knows me on, and then I hit Masters, and now I'm trying to do it through the ranked anxiety, which is a different challenge in and of itself.
It's a different Frog.
Yeah, no, this time it is actually Frog who's trying to climb up there. I will say the last time I did this Friday get into some casuals. I had the people who initially got me into the game years and years ago, like my initial friend group. They get on every once in a while, but now they're more like mutuals. But they don't play the game nearly as much as I do. And so they get on and we play casuals every once in a while, and they're always like super chill games. But this week, we did not get the super chill games at all. Like I play...
Oh no.
We go and we play versus Conquest, because they're also Conquest gamers. And I get to answer a bunch of questions, but I purposefully don't try hard. Like I'm looking at the history. I played Chronos solo, and then I played Pele support. And it was fun, and nobody rages. Like it was an okay time, but like we were playing because we were 5-manning. You know how the system loves to put you against other 5-mans?
Yeah.
We were playing against, I don't know why it decided to put us against like the 5-mans that it did, but like we were in the SPL casual queues. Like the enemy Ravana was at our second speed spawn waiting around the corner for my friend who has not played the game in however many months to walk out of base, and like it was not the most pleasant casual experience. But it was fun. Nobody raged. That's the key. We didn't let us get to us. And then the post game lobby, he was very upset. That same guy who won, like we have sixth, that same guy was very upset that we were not upset. We were like GG's. It's a good game.
That's when you hit him with GG, not even close.
Right, not even close.
Easy clap. You fight toxicity by also memeing on them.
Right.
Yeah. No, that's the way to go.
And then they're like, "Well, you lost. What do you mean?" Yeah, I know, it was easy.
Have some shame.
Right.
But no, other than that, I just been running it back. I've got a lot. I did have one arena game. I played one arena game to close out the 3 times XP day, and I finally broke level 160. I am now officially godlike on my account in Smite. But for whatever reason,
now you can get up to level 4,000.
Yeah, I really got to put in the hours, dude. Ever since they raised the cap now, so now I'm just slacking. I'm just
what gets me are the people that have 2 accounts and both of them were 160. And it's like,
that's crazy.
Jeez, man. Like, that's too much. That is, I couldn't imagine it.
Well, you could also think that maybe like they were on PlayStation and then they moved over because there's no, cross progression for PlayStation.
They're PC mains.
No,
they're PC
stop.
Mains.
Let me offer them an out.
There is no out.
I'm trying to help them.
Oh.
What about you, Dep Nation? Did you play some Smite?
I've played some Smite. I've also been getting coming down with the sniffles this week.
Yeah. Also, Blaze is also unwell. Also not here.
Yeah. But I managed
it's summertime.
to get some
You're not allowed
in.
to get sick.
I thought the same thing, and then I remembered
that's not how germs work.
Germs. And so it's like I've been washing my hands as much as I can, but you could only do so much and play Smite at the same time. But couple games of note. Taking Merlin into the assault game. Merlin, he was I gotta say, and it might be a mages in general thing. Really doesn't feel like you do anything until that 3rd item.
Well, that was that overall nerf.
Yeah.
To damage.
Which I'm fine with it. I'm okay with that. Okay. 3rd item. We're actually getting, some damage now. Had a real... the Merlin was okay. It was... The enemy team was kind of running at us, and they just had a better comp. They had Persephone on Opwash. And,
wow.
Yeah.
That's
so it's like, oh, I'm Merlin. I'm the long range mage. We got this. And then I look at the enemy team roster, and it's like, oh, maybe we don't got this.
Maybe we don't got this, actually.
Right. And couple that with them having 2 frontliners and us not having any frontliners, really kind of put the nail in the coffin that we were not going to win that match. But a following match where it was kind of crazy. I had Chiron as my role. Guy wants to trade me Poseidon And I'm like, oh, okay, we could do this. And then I think we also had like Zeus, Kabrakin, Athena, right?
Okay.
Enemy team, real unfortunate, all fizz. Kabrakin is going ham. Like, top of the scoreboard. You know, you press T to find out who the fuck was that. It's Kabrakin. Kabrakin top everything for the first, I'd say 15 minutes of that assault match.
Kabroken.
Yeah. And come to find out, the Chiron is grouped up with the Zeus and Athena. They're they're an Xbox clan, you can tell, because they both started their name with Venomoose.
Oh, I think I've seen them.
Yeah.
I think I've seen them before.
Because you can't do spaces, so they put an X. You know, real gamer hours. But I think we were pushing the Phoenix, and I was like, I was being a bit more cheeky than I should have been. But I had 6,000 gold in pocket. And we, like, slowly, every 10 seconds, one of us died. And we got full builds. And we proceeded to push them down the rest of the game. And
nice.
Catch the dub. It felt really good.
Was Kabroken building Kabroken items?
Let's find out what Kabrakin was. They were all fizz, so I mean, like, he kind of lucked out.
That is always fortunate when you get all of one damage type on the enemy team, because you're just
started Sundering Axe, Contagion. They did have a lot of CC, so that was probably helping him early on, dealing some extra damage. Glad Shield picked up a Midgard. Picked up Phalanx. There's still some of those newer defensive items where I haven't really given them an honest effort. Phalanx, Cannoneers, or something like that. I need to kind of look at those and see what they actually do, because I feel like those are going to be items where it's like, oh, they just keep buffing it. Oh, they just keep buffing it. Oh, they just keep buffing it. And then it's like, well, this is overpowered. How did this get, you know, and it's just because no one, to my knowledge, has been picking it up. It could be that
that's
I'm
a good
living
question.
under a rock.
Is Frog seeing those items in ranked conquest or even while casting?
I'll give you a little bit of insight into the meta. So definitely leaning towards hybrid or tank meta. I think especially in the jungle. But Phalanx is one of those items that I think has drawn a little bit of attention. It's gone previously, like before this tank patch, before 10.6, Phalanx was on like the verge of being in a bunch of different builds. Like if you ever built a warrior in the jungle, or if you wanted one hybrid item, it felt like Phalanx was oftentimes your go-to from the jungle, because it gives you that offensive prowess when you dive people. You get attack speed when you get hit, and so you get that little bit of hybrid, but you also increase your DPS at the same time. And for the auto attack junglers that were in the jungle, like you would see it on Baka, like third item. But 10.6 hit, and you get more tank items that now are brought into the hybrid space, and now you're really only getting Phalanx if you like huge benefit from that attack speed. And instead, the two tank items that I've seen rise the most utilized in jungle specifically, because obviously there's a ton of tank items like Manicore spikes have come back in the soul lane, but the two tank items that I've seen the most in the jungle, and once again it's like where you can use them, but it's Archdruid's Fury and Dawnbringer. Archdruid's Fury is that one that like you take in a bunch of damage and then you deal out. It's like almost like Poly, but it's based on the damage you take. So if you take like
I think I've
huge
seen
poke,
that one. I've tried
like
using it before, but maybe it was too early.
Recently, just because like everything gets a little bit of a nerf in terms of like the max physical and magical defense that you're getting and the max health, the prots from those dual protection items, like you get 60 total prots, and then that boost of power is coming in, especially on an auto attack canceling character and in a meta where like Hydras is not the best. It's hard to build a Hydras. It brings you a lot more survivability than you would expect. And then Dawnbringer is fantastic, but only on certain characters. You really have to have one that like is really looking to like start a fight with your ult. I personally love it on Thor because you land in and then your entire combo has like you land into them, you've got increased protections, you've got increased movement speed, and it actually stacks with Thor's passive. Like you want to be next to enemies anyways. And so if you're starting a fight with your ultimate, Dawnbringer feels generally pretty good. I know. I don't know if you guys got a chance to tune into the Masters tournament this past. I think it was 2 weekends ago. At this point was the week 2 of it. But Sino is also finding some interesting usage with that item as well. He built like almost a full tank Pele. He had Dawnbringer, he had Pridwin, he had Glad Shield, and he would just ult to start something off, and then through the entire combo, he would have movement speed, he would have more protections, he would get the double explosion proc on the Pridwin because you're like next to Pele as she's autoing you.
Yeah.
And it was like it was super. I don't actually think he won that game, funnily enough, but it was oppressive. Like it was difficult to deal with.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. And you were describing Dawnbringer there, and I'm like, man, what's the difference between that and Erendite at this point?
So,
like, really, it sounds just better.
Erendite is gonna give you. Erendite's gonna be more purely offensive.
Yeah.
Erendite's gonna give you that. I think Erendite gives you like 20 more power, and it also doesn't give you any health, and it gives you some CDR. Just like more offensive stats, and in addition to the movement speed, you get that big auto proc. So on something like Nemesis, or on something like Loki, maybe, where you like want to chase somebody down after the fact, you're looking for that big auto cancel to start or end a fight. Gotcha. Erendite can be pretty good, but the thing that Dawnbringer brings is, once again, it's that hybrid. Like it's hard to reach into the bag and find Erendite right now because you're looking for so many. Like it's hard to. There's so many good offensive items. Like it feels like in every jungle build, you have to go a starter. So that's one slot. I think almost every time in a lot of the popular junglers, like all of your auto attack junglers, you're going, maybe not Kali, you're going like Phalanx. All of your ability junglers like Achilles, like Rat, like Thor, you're going like Serket as well. Pele, you're going one hybrid item, maybe even 2 hybrid items depending on how your team's playing. And so you have to have a starter. You have to fit in a hybrid item. That's 2 items right there. You pretty much have to fit in a serrated. That's a 3rd item. You almost always have to have a flat pen item early, right? A Jotuns or a Brawlers if you need anti-heal. So that's 4 items. Heartseeker is usually going to come out on top of Erendite. The percent health damage into the tank meta right now is generally pretty strong. It also gives like all of your stats all in one place. And so it's a huge stat stick of an item. And then that last one is typically where you get that fill. And almost always right now, people are using that fill more early than they would be using it late. And as opposed to using it something like a Bloodforge or something like that Erendite, that's where you would put it. They're putting their stock in something like a Transcendence, in that first or second item slot to be more effective in those later game and middle game team fights. I mean, something that has changed once again with this new patch is this Stygian beacon in Conquest. And so that you know that you can safely prepare for a fight around that 12-minute mark.
Right.
That's one thing, that's one huge thing that's like, I don't know if people have realized how much it has impacted the meta, but like previously the onus was all on you. Like the Gold Fury was going to spawn and it was going to sit there until your composition decided to fight. So if you wanted to pick super early, you could force it earlier. If you wanted to pick super late, you could in theory force it later. But now there is this universal timer that everybody feels like they're on, at least a little bit. Like you can choose to give the first one up, you can choose how you want to fight over it, but like I want to have a 2-item jungler at this point in the game, and so that power spike is more important than I think it has been in the past if you're looking to fight over that, which I've seen a lot more focus on recently.
When they announced the Stygian beacon and the Unleashed Titans mechanic, I was so excited because I definitely like seeing the new strategy coming out from it, and a little bit more movement in the map, especially earlier. So it's been nice to see.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, the Soul Laners, you're getting like super early teleport upgrades in some cases, and like a 12-minute rotation from solo might have been like unheard of last patch. But not. I mean, now it's bringing in fights. The Titans, I don't know if I vibe with like as much. Like it's a cool concept. And we did get to see it used at Masters a bit. Like at the highest level of play, it's super fun to watch because I think 2 or 3 separate times you got to watch where pro teams used it as a strategic move as opposed to like the standard either ignore it or like in casuals, it's almost always one of 2 options. You either ignore it and you let them kill each other, or like people group up and they kill it, or somebody like sieges with it, right? But it feels like those are the only 2 options. When you get to the highest level of play, they were using it like purposefully forcing fights in the jungle while the Titans were out of base, so that even if they lost the fight, the other team couldn't march down and end. There was a team that like felt that they could contest a fire giant because there were fire minions pushing into their base at the time, but the fire minions had nothing to hit because the Titans were unleashed and walking down the right-hand side. It was hilarious to watch because the fire minions charged into the base, and then they realized, like, you could see the pathing of the minions. They stood still for a second, and then they started pathing towards the Titan in the right-hand lane. And so they tried to like come out of the locked base gate doors, and they couldn't. Like there was a huge minion pile up just in the enemy base.
It's amazing.
But they get like they that's a strategic thing. They ignore the fire minions. They don't have that pressure, and they get now. That team did end up losing that fight and then the game, in the scenario that I'm thinking of. But like there were like additional strategy elements that it brings to the game, which is harder to find in a casual sense. So I like the potential of it. It's a very fun mechanic, but it feels it also makes things more slow, right? Because you get the 3 beacons, and then if you don't like have a giant push or have a giant fight off this Titan siege, and you're even after the Titan siege, like that's that. Like you're even. There's no more forced fights. You're now 30 minutes into the game, and you're even staring at a fire giant.
Yep. I have my own opinions, but I want to hear yours about it first. How do you feel about the seasons changing every few patches this year? Year 10 of Smite is going to be 4 distinctive seasons, and it does cause a lot of mix-up and a lot more strategies having to be planned depending on what season we're in and what mechanic has been introduced or what mechanic has been taken away. And I'm just curious what your thoughts are on the ever-changing Conquest map this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely interesting, to say the least. And they did something similar in season 9, although not to this extent. I think that it is healthy for the game to change things up for the casual state of the game and for the casual enjoyer of the game. I think it's kind of fun, especially because like for the first time in a while. They've gotten resounding feedback on this Season of Souls meta. Like it feels like they've really knocked it out of the park with some aspects of the meta we're currently in. But from a competitor standpoint, and I'm not a competitor, so it's, I can't speak from total experience, but it feels a little bit rough. Like I think Genetics tweeted about it. Because they played the entire SPL meta on the second season, and then they come out after a month break. They play one best of 3 on this new Season of Souls meta, one best of 3, and now they lose the best of 3. They're out of the tournament. There's a break of SPL for like 2 or 3 months.
Yep.
And so from a viewer standpoint, and even from a caster standpoint, like it's kind of fun to cast and to watch that. Like it is amusing, and it's interesting to see people adapt on the fly. It just by default gives you more content to enjoy and absorb as a viewer. But as a player, I can imagine it can be a little bit frustrating.
Yeah, for sure.
One thing I am happy about though is, based on those esports announcements we just recently got, the entirety of the last half of the season, SPL Phase 2, Worlds Qualifiers, and SWC, the entirety of the last half of the season will all be in whatever the 4th season is for this. So after the Season of Souls, we'll have the entirety of the rest of the season. So it was fun for Masters. We got to see teams adapt, but for Worlds, at least, like, teams are going to have weeks and weeks and weeks of practice to decide what's meta, decide what they want to come out with.
Right. Okay. Yeah. No, it's pretty much where I am. Like, it is fun, but I do imagine it's very chaotic for them, and also for casters having to learn pretty much on the fly in order to do the casting aspect of it as well. So
yeah, I mean, I remember I was flying to, I think I was reading through the patch notes on the plane on my way to Georgia
to go to Masters.
What do I need to remember, and what do I not need to remember? At the same time though, it also, like, to an extent makes our job a little bit easier. And for me, for the first time being like on that bigger stage in the production studio, it was very easy to have things to like fall back on, especially as a chair one. Like, anytime there was a lull, I could be like, so what do you think about this Stygian beacon? Like, how are teams fighting around it? Or like, what do you think about the Titans? Do you think they're going to be a big deal in this push come 30 minutes? And I get the chair 2 can talk about it. I can just sort of lob some softballs over there. So there's some aspect to it, and we're also enjoying it as viewers on the cast. That was a big thing. Like, in those Titan moments, like where you see the new strategies come out, where people adapt on the fly. That's always really fun to watch and to cast, because I think you get a lot of genuine emotion there for people who are fans of the game. Like, I love watching a good Smite game as much as anybody else. And so when you see those new strategies, and when you like get to absorb new content as a viewer, there's a certain element of enjoyment that adds as well.
Nice. All right. I think we have questions.
I think we have some questions. Yeah. Did you want to hop on over to our
Sure. Yeah, I can pull those up and
guest questions. Pull them up. And
we got a few of our challengers have chimed in asking some questions specifically for you. I hope you're ready.
Wow.
Don't worry, it's not a test, or is it?
No, I mean
It's not.
I've been answering meta questions for a minute now, but I love it.
That's
Give me-
true. That's
give-
true.
give me a
These
soapbox,
are not going to
you
be
know?
meta questions.
No, they're not meta
These
questions.
are the opposite of meta
Got it.
questions. These are sometimes dumb listener questions.
Well, dumb in a fun way.
Yeah.
All right, so T Fry is up first with a few questions for you. Question number 1 is, what kind of pull do you have with the dev team to get us the chibi Lancelot skin and call it Lance a Little? Cause that's good. I like it.
Fantastic idea.
Do you have pull? Is this a thing we can do?
Right.
I unfortunately do not have
Wow.
the pull that I would like.
Imagine.
The separation. These studios are actually entirely separate. The place where the designers and the developers work out of is like in an entirely different building
Yeah.
than we
okay.
cast out of. And so I part of my trip to Georgia, I was like, dude, I'm so excited. I'll like say hi to Aggro and meet Lermy, and none of that happened. Not even a little bit.
Oh no.
So maybe someday, and I'll see him at Worlds.
Right. Yeah.
But no, unfortunately, my DM to Aggro would have the same power as your DM to Aggro.
Wow.
Hmm.
Okay. All right. Number 2. Number 2 is, if you had a magic wand and could change one mechanic about the game, what would it be?
Oh wow, what a question!
We got you on the spot.
Right.
There's one thing that I've felt has never been, and if I thought about it more, I'm sure I would have a different answer, because like if I thought about it for long enough, I would eventually be like, oh my god, I hate that. Like my first immediate answer is like, let's remove Kuzenbo, but I'll hold off on that.
Wow, what did Kuzenbo do to you?
In terms of
He whipped a
mechanics,
Nanade.
that's true. That's true.
There's one thing that I felt like is a little bit inconsistent, and that is how sometimes abilities will go under knocked up people, and
Mhm.
sometimes they
They
won't.
don't. Yeah.
And so like on Poseidon is a great example, because sometimes I feel like I can knock somebody up, and I can with my ult, and I can hit my one right after, and it'll like work seamlessly. And other times it'll feel like it'll just whoosh right under him for some
Mhm,
reason, and it doesn't feel consistent, and it happens with other abilities too, although I can't think of an example just like that off my head other than Poseidon. But something where either like, no matter unless they're like fully banished, their hitbox like remains. I'm sure there is a point, like, you know, for instance, like if you get Herc knocked up, obviously you can't be hit, like you're so high up in the air. But like those knockups that are like just a little bit off the ground, it can be hard to tell like what is banishment and what is still gonna hit this guy. And so I think I would probably try and make that like more consistent, or design abilities around like not having arbitrary height limits, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
get it. I've had many experiences like that alone just in this week, so I understand the frustration for sure. Number 3 from T Fry: if you had a magic wand and could change one thing about the Smite community, what would it be? Oh.
Wow. I mean, this is super biased, but like I would love it if we had like even more amateur casters, you
Mhm.
know. That's where I got my start. And there's so many opportunities for it. I'm still in all of the servers that like I came up in. I've got the caster role a bunch of times, and every time I go to bed and I have like these errant at caster, like, you know, get ready for this set, or at caster needs someone for 9 p.m. and it's like this whole community is still going on around me. Everybody's hosting their own league. There's so much agency out there to like go out and get your experience within the gaming community and within the Smite community specifically. And season 9 in particular, season 10 I think has been a bit better, but season 9 in particular was really rough for the casting scene. the community casting scene in general, because there were like a couple changes in terms of how gem payouts and gem prizing worked.
Yeah.
And so that sort of definitely took a little bit of a hit, and like the average person who wanted to get into it was not as incentivized as they were. But like if I could change one thing, I would make it as easy as possible. It's already pretty easy, but I would make it as easy as possible to just like jump in and for people to experience, because it's never something like casting is never something that I picked up the game and anticipated myself doing ever. But it's like somebody was like, I think Steve from AGL Glacier was the one who originally asked me, because we were just friends, like we had done coaching together, and he was like, I'm gonna go do this. Do you wanna come do this? And I had a ton of fun with it.
Yeah.
And like it was just a natural experience. So that doesn't happen nearly as often. You often have to like go looking for yourself, but it's something that if you're like me, you didn't know that you wanted to do it until you started doing it.
Exactly.
So if I could change one thing, I would make that a little bit more accessible, I think.
I like that. All right, up next we have the last question from T-Fry. How much community is there between top-tier casters and players? Are y'all in a big group chat and complain about new updates together, or is it really compartmentalized between teams and groups?
Yeah, I'd say it's more compartmentalized. I can't speak to it the same way that an actual professional caster would, because I'm not actually at the studio week to week. But from my experience, there's definitely a good working relationship. Like the players will come into studio and they'll be getting ready for their games, and there were plenty of times where like a caster, even myself, like would just like shoot the shit or ask them questions or like talk about their upcoming set. Like they're all friendly, but outside of like being friendly and being like acquaintances in the studio as people come in, and obviously like interviews as they happen before and after sets and stuff, there's not that sense of, I don't want to call it forced community, because it's not like, oh, you join an SPL team and all of a sudden you're added to a chat with all of these high-res devs. Everybody in their own role has like feedback to give, and I don't mean role as in like conquest role. I mean role as in like, if you're a pro player, you probably see things that regular people don't.
Right.
And so everybody has their own avenues to have their impact on the game and to have their thoughts on the game. But for the most part, any relationships, from what I've seen, any relationships that the casting staff or the production staff may have with an esports player or team are mostly on like an individual basis. Like you like, I know PBM and Aggro are really good friends, but that's not something that developed over the fact that like they were forced to interact because they were caster and esports player. That was something where they're like, oh, they have shared interests and they became friends over interacting over a period of time,
right?
Type thing. So just like, how you go out and make friends in the real world. But no, there's no one big group chat, at least not that I'm a part of. And there's more like, it's useful to have them there, because like you can literally as a caster, like you're walking out to your next set and you pass through the lobby with all the pro players, and you literally can ask them questions. Like you can get thoughts on what they're going to bring to the table or how this meta is looking. I know that I didn't have this opportunity, but one of my fellow SCC casters who was there with me at the event actually like landed at the Georgia airport and drove back in the shuttle with like 4 or 5 SCC players, and it's like a 45-minute drive, and he spent the entire time just talking about like what we would see that weekend, what the meta would be like. That's and trying
awesome.
To get this scoop and like what's happening. So the avenues are there. We obviously have easier access to a pro player than an average person might, and maybe that's not even true because Twitch chat's a thing. But to answer the question, to go all the way back, there's no big group chat. There's no like big Discord where we're all discussing meta changes. It's mostly like compartmentalized to your individual group, maybe individual team as well.
Okay. Amber is up next with a few questions for you. Question number 1 from Amber is, who do you think will win Worlds this year?
So last year I went with the Valks, and I predicted it on day 1. Like literally as they qualified, I predicted it, and then Benny Q and the Valks did not do well. They did they were not there in the World's finals.
Unfortunate.
This year I made a very similar prediction, and I purposefully predicted the team that was at the bottom going in, which was the Hounds. And I am actually like pleasantly surprised with how that prediction is turning out. The Hounds really came out and showed off a little bit at this last tournament. They placed 3rd after having not a stellar Phase 1 SPL performance. Benny Q on the Raw. He is Himmy Q on the Raw. And so it's been really fun. I am always gonna root for the underdog, although admittedly it was great to see Twig get his ring last year. He's deserved it for a while. But I always really enjoy rooting for the underdog and like the scrappy team that came together because they were all off of different teams. That was Valkyries last year, and I think this year that's the Hounds. So 100%, no doubt in my mind, it's going to be the Hounds 3-0 Worlds Finals. Okay,
you heard it here first. Number 2, what is your biggest casting pet peeve?
Oh man, casting pet peeve in terms of like when I watch other people cast and what they do, or in terms of like, I think in terms of you, like if you're casting, what is your biggest pet peeve while you're casting? So I think, man, I don't have a ton. Like a lot of people don't really enjoy casting super slow games, but I don't think I'm the same way. I think that if I am casting a super slow game, it's harder to find those like talking points early on. Like if there's not a first blood until 18 minutes, we just have to find things to talk about. Right. But oftentimes that breeds fun moments. Like you get to talk about the color of the hair of the woman you saw on the side of the street at like 12 minutes because nothing is happening. And so like I think there's fun to be found in a ton of aspects of casting. And so like I don't think I have any real pet peeves of like the worst games I cast are like the least fun games to cast or this. I do have pet peeves like for my own experience. Like I'll have like a segment or a back and forth, and then I'll like be annoyed afterwards. I'll be like, dang, that could have been for sure better. Something that I've been working on that is a pet peeve of mine that I've been struggling to fall out of is I have like the same transition words a lot. Like when I'm going to my co-caster, one of the ones that I stuck to at Masters, it's not as noticing. Like if you have a fight word that you go back to, like if every fight I was saying, and this guy's next on the chopping block, like you as a viewer would recognize that phrase because that's quite the phrase if I was repeating that. But one phrase I found myself repeating a little bit was just like the word interesting. Like I went to go ask my chair 2 a question, and I'd be like, it's interesting that they've chosen this ADC matchup. Like, what are your thoughts? And it would always be like placed inconspicuously there. The pressure and the focus was never on the word interesting, which is why it was so hard for me to knock it out of my vocabulary. So I think that would maybe be a pet peeve when I have like something I know that I could be doing slightly better that's small enough that it's like not noticeable. So if you like don't tell the viewer that it's going on, they're not going to notice necessarily. But it's like in the back of my mind, living there until I inevitably find the next word that I'll stick to. Yeah, I noticed that with me, not just like
I haven't done desk work in so long, so I can't really say when I've been casting because I haven't done it in such a long time. But I do notice it when I'm streaming. I say unfortunate a lot. Unfortunate. Unfortunate. Unfortunate.
I say that a lot too. I don't think I say it on cast as much, but like just, you know what I've been saying recently just in my life? Brother. Dude,
brother?
Brother.
Hey,
I've been
brother.
saying brother all the time. I don't know what has brought it on, but like it is just now my go-to phrase for whatever reason. And next week I'll have a new one. I don't know what it is.
Well, we'll have to stay tuned.
Yeah.
And Amber's number 3 question and final question is, what is the best thing about casting?
Man. I think it's probably the energy that I get to experience. So I am naturally a very loud individual. Like that's just, I think it's a little bit genetics. It's also a little bit like I just have a decent amount of confidence. I think I carry myself pretty well. But so like I will come off, I will enter a room and I'll like I can carry things and I can get carried away sometimes. And that's not the world is not always the right setting for that. Well, you know, it might not be the right setting in a job environment, in a casual conversation. It's hard to find routine places where you can give that energy or give that dedication to something necessarily, or bring 100% of yourself to something. And so when you find something that you can routinely, authentically bring 100% of yourself to, I think that's the most valuable thing about casting for me. Because if we are 55 minutes into the game and somebody makes a huge play and there's a deicide on the other side and I am shouting at the top of my lungs and I am like full on super excited, my adrenaline is going, I am into what I'm watching, I'm not only enjoying it as a viewer, but I am 100% in that moment. And casting is designed at the highest level. It is literally designed to provide you as many of those moments as possible. Which is, I don't know that you can really say that about any other profession. Even if you're the pro player, you can make those moments for yourself. But like if you're the caster, if you're the commentator, the job, the position is bred to bring you into those moments. And I think being able to be 100% in those moments, give my full self, not only experience it, but also bring positive experiences to others. Like I still, we're weeks after the event, I still can't get it out of my head. Like I'm not huge, but I am somewhere in the history books of my favorite game of all time. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's nuts. That is an insane fact. And so like to be able to bring my full self to something, have those experiences, and have those experiences time and time again, because that's what the job is made for. That's 100% my favorite part.
Well said. Well said. Making me all emotional. All right, up next. Sasquatch has 6 questions, but they shouldn't be too terribly deep here. Number 1, what is your favorite ice cream flavor?
Cookies and cream.
Nice, me too. What's your favorite pizza topping?
You
can only pick one.
Okay, does topping count? What if I change the sauce? Like if I change the sauce,
I'll allow it. I love a sauce change on pizza. What you got?
I love ranch. My favorite pizza is chicken bacon ranch.
Yeah, chicken
pizza.
bacon ranch is good.
But ranch pizza is underrated.
Would you rather have tacos or nachos?
Tacos.
Same. Who's your favorite Smite god?
Sylvanas.
Nice. Which god would you like to see a kit rework?
Kumbhakarna.
Same. Do you wanna go deeper into that one?
Kumbhakarna 1 is the most useless ability in the game.
It's so short.
The worst ability in the game.
It's so short.
It gets its most use is just being used as a dash.
Yep.
But otherwise, you're just running into somebody. There's no utility. There's no damage because you're a support.
Right.
Like it doesn't bring anything to the table. It is a gimmick ability at best.
All right.
And so that's my take. I think Kumba is an extremely oversimplified character with an extraordinarily unique, like there's so much you can do with him, man. He's got such a cool passive. His 3 is one of the only attack speed slows in the game. And like he has great ideas around him, but the way they rounded out his kit has never been a fan.
Understood. And well said. Which god would you like to see get a character update? I guess like a remodel. Like recently, Artemis got a remodel.
Man, a lot of the ones that I was holding on to, they've done a good job in the past. I was harking on Sobek for a while.
Mm-hmm.
But they did a really good job with him. Man, I don't know that I have like anybody that really comes to mind. I mean, I think wait, hold on. I've got Smite open in front of me. Let me just scroll through.
Do a quick scroll through the gods.
Through the gods. They reworked Ares. I didn't think they needed to do that, although the new Ares looks really solid. So there's not much I can say about that. I will maybe Hunbats.
Okay.
Maybe Hunbats.
Okay.
Hunbats isn't bad.
Hunbats?
They did Hunbats forever ago. Like this isn't his OG one, but it's still pretty old.
Okay.
But that's sort of what I'm like. There's nothing that they've done a good job of it, because there are ones that used to stick out to me,
mm-hmm.
and I think we've gotten past those ones that used to stick out to me. So I like the fact that I had to go looking for one. If anything, maybe it would be Hunbats. Maybe it would be Zeus. Just be like, Zeus doesn't look bad either, but it would be fun.
Well, we got to remake him just purely because his toes are so ginormous.
Oh, is that really a thing? Have I like jumped into a topic? You guys talk about that every week. Dude.
Look at Zeus' toes.
Have we touched on Zeus's toes this week yet, guys?
Oh my god. I don't want to touch Zeus's toes.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah, it's pretty rough.
The skins where you can see his toes.
Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of those.
Yeah.
It's not like just I don't think there's anything that needs something, but something that's like older, like Hunbats or Zeus or one of those original gods.
I can get on board with that. All right. So that was rapid fire questions from Sasquatch.
Rapid fire Sasquatch, yeah.
Yep. We only have a few more questions for you. Beard is up next with will the Valkyries ever move up from last place?
Well, the Valkyries are now in SCC. So like I think they've moved even lower than
further beyond.
They're not in last place in the SCC though. They took up the mantle of Sam for Soccer and his team that almost made it to the SPL.
Mm-hmm.
But they came out. They actually they were the last NA SCC team standing at Masters, so they didn't do too bad. Maybe Sam can sort of bring that same energy, maybe qualify them for Worlds in a couple of months. We'll have to see.
Okay. Batman's up next with just pie. That's the whole question. Pie?
The question is
so I don't
cream.
know if do you want pie? What's your favorite kind of pie?
Coconut cream pie is the only correct answer to that question. And apple pie is overrated.
Ooh. What do you think about that? What do you think about that, Batman? And last but not least, our resident Neath main has a question. Totally indicating the fact that they, in fact, have not read patch notes within the past, not even recently, but just overall, because this question is inherently wrong, but I will ask it. How has Neath become the most balanced god, not receiving nerfs or buffs in what feels like 2 seasons? Why is she so good?
Did she just get nerfed?
She got like buffed
buff.
the last 3 patches that they've touched her. Within the past 8 months, she's been buffed 3 times.
Dude, she's creeping up, man. Before
So
we know it, Neith is going to be at the top of the meta.
No.
Yes,
No,
dude,
don't say that.
100%.
Don't
That's what
say
happens.
that.
That's what
Don't
happens. They
say
forget
that.
about the buff, dude, and it goes unnoticed.
You forgot
And-
about the buffs.
I know. I didn't even realize. That's a cool stat that she's only been buffed over the last 8 months.
I personally went back and looked because I was like, I know for a fact she got buffed before the 10.6 patch. And in fact, March 28th, 2023, for the 10.3 patch, her base HP was increased by like 31 HP. Her spirit arrow increased root duration from 1.2 scaling to 2 seconds. They brought that down.
I'm not going to remember any of these numbers.
Yeah, that's fine. They brought that down, the root duration, or higher, actually. So 1.6 scaling up to 2. So they brought it up for the early game and kept it the same for late game.
All right, here's the hot take. We are dangerously close to Neith being a very meta god.
Stop it.
Because
I don't want it.
We are in so like you said earlier, mages, you need to you sort of waiting for that third item. And in Conquest at times it can be even worse because you want to have Soul Reaver and E-Staff online,
right,
in order to like actually feel impactful against health damage. So we've seen a lot of this like double hunter, double physical, where we're seeing like AMC was getting banned against Dardes, and we saw Hu Yi in the mid lane played by Rep Crimson. We've seen a lot of Martikras played in the mid lane as well.
Mm-hmm.
And Martikras right now seems like kind of that go-to ability hunter. Martikras has been nerfed the last 3 patches, and I think he's only going to continue being nerfed because that character's busted.
Yes.
But as soon as they nerf Marty into the ground, which will happen inevitably, Neith is possibly next up to bat on that ability hunter list. She's gotten some buffs, which I just realized, but obviously now I'm on this train.
She literally so increased root duration on Spirit Arrow, decreased healing from Unravel, and so this is kind of more of like a shift, but primarily buffs on this most recent patch that she was touched. Before that,
was this the healing patch?
That was the healing patch, pretty sure, because that was the 10.3, which was the start of Season of Hope. So yeah, that was the healing patch. So all they did was nerf her healing, but they increased her root duration and they increased her HP. And then in December, they decreased her cooldown for Unravel and made her backflip passable through all player-made walls.
I remember that, dude. You can now jump over Ymir wall.
Ymir wall,
It's game-breaking.
Yep. And then before that, last August, her Spirit Arrow had increased or decreased cooldown, decreased mana cost. So I immediately added Backlash, and I was like, what do you mean? She hasn't been buffed or nerfed in 2 years. I just listed 3 times that she was buffed in the past year.
I'll agree. It sounds like the question is inherently flawed, but
correct.
On the right track. Because Neith has got to be next up.
Yeah. So you heard it here first, Backlash. Neith will be in the meta, but you can't say that she's the most balanced god because she's been buffed the past 3 times she's been changed. So get out of here.
Dude,
get out of here.
Who hasn't been changed in forever?
That's a good question.
I feel like it's so hard to lock that. I feel like
Anher hasn't been touched a lot.
Anher got buffed literally in 10.6.
Yes. Depp is like, I do not believe you.
I don't believe that. Yeah.
He got his base auto attack speed. The only reason I know this is because he was played at Masters out of nowhere. Because his base auto attack speed went up from 0.9 to 1. And his slow on his shifting sands increased as well.
Yep.
Have they touched Thanatos?
I don't know that they have touched Thanatos in a while.
Let me see. Smite Wiki. Smite Wiki is
Smite Wiki for changelog, yeah.
Yeah, at the very bottom of every god on Smite Wiki is a changelog, and all the patches are listed there that character's been affected.
Adjusted on. Yeah.
Changelog. Last time
Thanatos-
Thanatos was touched was 10.3 as well, but that was the healing
the
patch. So
healing
that was
patch. Yeah,
decreased
it's gonna
health
be
cost.
It's going to be hard to find a god that wasn't touched in the healing patch.
Yeah.
They did decrease his ultimate cooldown and but also decrease the healing from it. Oh, no, that's Scythe, sorry. Increased base damage from Hovering Death and increased stun duration. So he's been recently buffed.
All right,
I don't know. Decreasing damage, that sounds like a nerf.
Decreasing on his Scythe, but increasing his base damage on Harvesting Death, which is his ultimate, and increase the stun duration by a half a second.
No one was missing the scythes after landing the ult.
Listen.
I'm scrolling.
Have you met me?
I'm scrolling through the gods. Immediately. Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
I was going to say, I'm trying to think of, like, really balanced gods, and, like, Agni comes to mind, but I know they've been, like, messing with
Agni's
his
also
passive.
been...
That's the route that you don't want to take, right?
Yeah.
What you have to challenge yourself to think about is forgotten gods.
Forgotten, yeah.
Gods
I know for a fact Agni's been... Oh, actually...
heard the name of in ages.
Depp might be onto something. Agni has not been touched since the 9.11 patch. November 15th, 2022 was the last any kind of change happened to Agni.
I bet I can beat that. You know who I forgot about? Awelish.
Oh my god, Awelix.
I feel like I have not thought about Awelish in years.
All right, so let's look at changelog for Awelish. Let's see. We've got 9.9, so 2 patches prior. So September 20th of last year. Increase the duration of physical power from initiative and decrease cooldown on gravity surge. That was the only change. Over a year ago. Or almost a year ago. You might be onto something there.
Yeah.
It's hard. I mean, it's hard to find someone that is like you're actively looking for someone that's been forgotten about.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Before
10.6, I was constantly forgetting about Oleron. I know he got changed in the healing patch, but I feel like that god had not showed up in ages.
Let's see. Oleron.
In fact, I legitimately think that they forgot to change him in the healing patch. That's how forgetful he was. I think they changed him in 10.4 or
10.5. They changed Overflowing Divinity, increased base damage, and then he got a minus 10% ultimate cooldown and non-conquest. But nope, they remembered him in the healing patch. 10.3 decreased the heal on his 3.
Okay, nice.
10.1 increased Oleron's critical strike damage. But before that, before the 10.1 patch, do you want to know the last time Oleron was ever changed? Literally an entire year. 9.1 was the last time before year 10. Okay. He went through all of season 9 with no buffs and no nerfs.
Sylvanas was like that. Sylvanas got that recent change that his heal now hits minions.
Right.
Yeah.
But for a while before that, I feel like Sylvanas was like not touched for a while.
I could see that for sure. Yeah, it's definitely sitting there trying to think, okay, who have I not seen? Like, even in my casuals, like, aside from Assault, like, who am I not seeing? I feel real bad for Fafnir. What's going on with Fafnir? I feel like I don't really see a lot of Fafnirs, but that could just be me.
Fafnir does one thing really well, and he does everything else okay.
Yeah.
But it's so satisfying to hit a Fafnir hammer that...
Oh, for sure. Okay, here we go. This might be the longest time in between. So 10.6, which was, the patch that we're on now. He had an increase duration on his 2. Before that was 10.3, Endless Greed and Coerce. But then, before that, we hadn't seen any changes coming to Fafnir since 8.5. 8.5. Wow. So a year and a half of no changes.
That's tough.
I knew there was a reason why. I was like, I really just still haven't really seen a lot of Fafnir.
I mean, Fafnir is pretty balanced, I think.
So there you go, Backlash. Why is Fafnir so balanced? But I think that's all the questions from the community.
Well, that was fun. I mean, do you guys have questions? Do you want to come up with on the spot?
I asked mine earlier about the how you felt about the ever-changing conquest map and the different distinct seasons that we're seeing this year. I think
Dep is legally required to have one. I think
that's true.
I'm legally required.
You are. It's in the fine print.
How jealous do you think FroDoubleG is that you have all of the frog 2G handles?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, I only have mine. Always starts with the WoodFrog. Those are all mine because that's my in-game name is TheWoodFrog. Please don't DDoS
Gotta keep
me.
the branding on. Gotta keep the branding on.
Yeah, so I do not think I don't think he's that upset. Although I do think that he may regret not being here because now I've got all the frog energy this podcast.
There we go.
I hope you're having a hopping good time.
Yep. Fantastic.
Was that your only question, Dep Nation?
That's the only one that I could come up with on the spot like that.
Fair
I'm
enough.
not gonna lie.
I mean, you had warning. You should have read the fine, but you could have come prepared.
Now, saying
I could have read the warning. You're right.
Not saying that you would have like a sneak peek or anything, and nor would I ask you to ever divulge anything that you aren't allowed to. But do you have any possible thoughts or theories as to what the season after the Season of Souls might be?
So to an extent, I do actually know the answer to this.
Oh no.
Well,
don't divulge anything you're not supposed to.
I can't answer you.
Okay, that's fair.
I have. There's a lot on the horizon. I will say that I'm very excited for the future.
Mm-hmm.
I think like even more so in a way that I didn't think that I could be excited for the future of the game. Like the horizon is bright in my opinion.
All right, cool.
And so, just make sure you tune in at Worlds.
I'm so excited. Worlds.
Yeah.
You're gonna go this year?
Oh, for sure.
Awesome.
For sure.
I'll be there too. I'll see you there.
You might you might see me casting there. Who knows?
Yes. Exciting. I won't be wearing a onesie this time, or if I do, it won't be the same one. I got to figure out if I'm actually going to dress up this year. We shall see.
Yeah, I think the cosplay contest is always an underrated part of it.
Oh, it's so super cool seeing not even just the participants, but I feel like a lot of people that aren't actually in the contest go ahead and dress up that day too, and so it's really cool seeing everybody.
Yeah,
all dressed up. It's neat. Well, I think I've asked all the questions I want to because I'm entering spoiler territory, so we can't do that.
Yeah, we should probably steer away from that. Well, TheWoodFrog. Why don't you share any links or any plugs, or is there anything that you want to promote here while Nevea03 pulls up the list of people we have to thank?
Wait, I gotta do that? Oh no. Where is it?
I mean, I have a Twitch and I have a Twitter, and they're both TheWoodFrog with 2 G's at the end. Remember the double G.
Yeah.
I don't think your viewers are gonna have a hard time remembering that though, to be honest.
Don't forget it. You need it.
Don't forget, and we'll make sure to include that in the description.
It's a very soft plug. I don't use social media a ton. I tweeted for Masters, and I tweeted like that after my last cast. I tweeted and I got like 120 likes, and I was like, "Whoa, that's pretty cool!" I'm on social media, and people like my stuff.
Yay!
And then I felt more inspired to tweet, and so the next tweet was at this point like a week and a half ago was like I made a bold statement. I was like, "I'm entering my non-toxic era."
Whoa.
And I tweeted that out, and the responses that I got were every single response was some variant of, I give him 2 hours, or like I give him a day at most.
Right.
And sure enough, it has had no impact whatsoever on the things that I type in Smite Game. So, but no, I did try streaming recently. I reached out to Blaze, and he helped me set up my settings, and I don't drop any frames or whatever.
Nice.
So you might
Awesome.
you might see me out there in the social media world sooner rather than later. Who knows?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think it's time to thank our patrons.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it super fast. I apologize. I don't get to look at this list like Fro Double G does. So we've got.
You don't get to look at it.
Well, I didn't even know where to find it, but I found it. It's fine. Aereo, Asbestos. Is it Briss or Bryce? I don't know. Weatherman Keith, Jade Flagon, Baseball, Griff, Bombi, Danny, Caveman, Neo, Coffin, CDR, Gilly, Snorlax, Weatherman, Audio, Sir Embers, K Brojo, Freak, Stoff, Backlash, Sadon, Dr. God, Fokker. Gets me every time. Lantern, Riggs, Warlord, Bats Kid, Echo Dunk, Doc, Necros, Otter Joe, Riggs, Dracon, Glenn Wiggle, Granite Boys, Camo, Void Voices Void, Bright, Sloppy, Gemini, Batman, Sandman, Aquasoft, Kilowatt Man, I'm a Hater, Mr. Man, Colorado, Amberbug, Folk Hero, and the Big Red.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Series Heart Hands.
Do you think if you line, because you almost got there at the end, do you think if you line them up specifically, you could sing the Billy Joel song?
Oh yes,
and just do,
we didn't start the fire. Yeah,
yeah, just do a bunch in a row.
Yeah.
we could do it that way.
Something to think about.
Heck yeah.
Well, all right, everybody. I've had a lovely time, but I think it's time to go play some cooldowns runneth over.
Cooldowns runneth over, except for Frog. Frog
You
doesn't play.
guys could convince me.
Oh, maybe.
Oh, all right.
Sounds
get on
good to
outta
me. All right. See y'all later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Whispered promises straight to my heart. I'd never noticed, but you were never there, you were never there. Hey, you gave me roses, set me apart. All I feel was bliss, but you were never there, you were never there. I want us to be what we used to be this night. Maybe just another fight, but you don't wanna see me cry. There is no way that it's never going there. I think it better and I swear I'll follow you no matter where. Think it better and I swear follow you no matter where. Think it better and I swear follow you no matter where. Down in empty streets, looking for joy. I don't wanna admit I'm better on my own, better on my own. You say we're not meant for each other. I'm not sure of this. I won't give up on this, I won't give up. Cause I don't wanna behave like the one to flee, like the one to leave. I never surrender, but ever remember my lover. Did you give up on me? Have you never learned a lesson? Sorry, I will never be. Even in your dreams, the one you wanna see. Think it better go someplace I don't know, cause I got your picture on my mind. I want us to be what we used to be this night. Maybe just another fight, but you don't wanna see me cry. There is no way that it's never going there. I think it better and I swear I'll follow you no matter where.